In this episode, the Formula One Dutch Grand Prix, IndyCar at the Grand Prix of Portland, and NASCAR was at Darlington. Welcome to episode 114 of the We Are Auto Show. What's up, Mr. Derek Schmidt?
Mr. Michael Rao, there was some racing that happened over the weekend.
There was quite a lot of racing that happened over the weekend, and it wasn't even our favorite series. Well, one of our favorite series wasn't racing.
Yes, and so was not racing. But F1 was racing.
'Twas.
Did you see any of it?
I saw highlights. I didn't see any racing at all this weekend.
I did watch it. They were at Zandvoort, I think is
Zandvoort!
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the Belgian Grand Prix. There was a lot of orange
No,
there.
it's not the Belgian Grand Prix. It's the Dutch Grand
Sorry,
Prix.
you're right.
The Belgian Grand
Dutch.
Prix is Spa.
Spa, that's right. The Dutch Grand Prix. Anyway, the Dutch fans were out in orange, heavily supporting, McLaren.
Uh-huh.
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 Or Max Verstappen.
Yeah. I did. Wasn't there like a rule that you weren't allowed to bring the orange flares?
There was.
And I'm pretty sure everyone broke that rule.
The rule said, yes, no orange flares were allowed. But the fans did hold off. They didn't shoot off the flares until after the race.
There we go.
Which was cool. I will say, last time they raced there were orange flares going the whole time. And at certain points, you couldn't see certain corners because the camera was too far away. And it was just a haze of orange.
That's unfortunate.
Yes. So they had massive screens when all the fans were walking in that said, please don't shoot off the flares when the race is racing, please.
We can't see anything.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
So after the race was over, it was quite orange.
Yes, for sure.
But going into this race, Verstappen has a massive lead.
Quite large, yes.
Yes. And they qualified, I think, fairly well. I didn't happen to see qualifying. But it was supposed to be a battle between Leclerc and Verstappen. Mm-hmm. And it turned out to be a battle between Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton.
And?
Who?
George Russell.
Kind of George Russell. Sort of.
Well?
The battle between Verstappen and Hamilton was interesting. There was a strategy call that was going on between the Mercedes and the Red Bull. And overall, Mercedes had made a better choice. They had Lewis run long on a stint, and they got to do the overcut and actually did take the lead. And had a virtual safety car not come out, in theory, Hamilton would have been pretty far in the lead, probably 10, 12 seconds in the lead with like 20-ish laps left.
No, Michael, no, this is so not fair. Who am I?
But unfortunately, the virtual safety car came out. And then Verstappen made a good pit call, and Lewis kind of got the shaft.
Lewis didn't get the shaft. Lewis shafted himself.
He did.
Because everyone else said, I would like softs, please. And Lewis just didn't. It was too late.
It was too late.
Yeah. I mean, you got to make that decision early. You've got to know that if you are within the last, 15 laps of the race, right? Was it 15-ish laps?
Somewhere around there.
Right. You got to know going in that if that goes yellow, 15-ish laps left, you're going for softs.
Mm-hmm.
That just should be plan A.
Yes. But they didn't.
It didn't even register in his brain until after they were about to go green again.
I think that they stayed on the mediums that they were on. And Lewis did come over the radio and absolutely rip the team a new one.
He shouldn't have. That was his fault.
To a certain extent, it was. Mercedes, regardless, once that caution came out, their race was toast. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if they pitted or not. But in the end, caution came out. They didn't pit. Verstappen easily overtook, which I thought was surprisingly easy the way he overtook. The green flag dropped after the virtual safety car, and then he was just gone.
Part of the reason why is because I guess we are understanding that Lewis is a bit more, as they would say in Great Britain land, rubbish than we originally thought.
You don't say.
He made the mistake of being in the complete and total wrong drive mode for the restart.
Oh, that's why it was so easy.
So Hamilton had crummy tires, but he also made his life even worse.
Yes.
Sorry,
tires.
you're like a how many times world champion? You should know how to work this thing by now.
I agree. If he's in the wrong drive mode, that totally makes sense. Because after the safety car went in, Verstappen just drove past him on the straightaway. Usually, it's at least even on the restart on the straightaway. It was clear that Verstappen just drove past him. It wasn't even close.
Yeah. Rumor has it that Lewis was in the total wrong drive mode.
That checks out. New tires don't gain you that advantage on a straightaway. So, Lewis did take home a win. But
Wait, who?
Or not Lewis, sorry. Verstappen. Verstappen took home the win.
It's like, wait a minute. Lewis didn't take home shit.
He made all the fans super happy. But before that happened, Ferrari managed to fumble around a couple more things and mess some things up.
Ferrari. What a season to be a Ferrari fan. I've said that 1,000 times. I am continually let down by Ferrari every single time I watch Ferrari race.
It's really bad. It's very bad.
This has got to be the worst Ferrari team that we've seen in as many years as I can remember.
It's terrible.
They are completely out of sync, out of coordination with everyone. It's like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. They just don't. They're just all out of sorts with everything they do.
Here's the latest on the Ferrari debacle.
Oh boy.
I believe it was Sainz that came in. He made a pit stop. He made a pit stop, and I guess at the last second they made a tire change call. And from what I understand, all the mechanics basically pull the tires out of the tire rack where they have the blankets on them, right? Run around, get ready, car comes in, you change the tires, you're gone. There's a certain time period that you have to give the mechanics of like 15 seconds, we'll say. I don't know what it actually is, but say before 15 seconds before the car has to be there, you have to give the time for mechanics to actually get the tires out of the blanket and get ready to be there.
Yeah.
Apparently at like 10 seconds, they called a change. And one of the tire changers like fumbled around, ran back, got the new tire, was like, oh God, no one else did it. So then he went back and got the old tire and then ran back around. And by that time, Sainz was already in the pits. 3 tires had already been put on. They were waiting for the last tire, which was the left rear, and they waited something like 8 to 10 seconds. Which, in an F1, that's forever.
That's an eternity in Formula 1.
That's your race toast. Yeah. That was one of 2 blunders. The next blunder was an unsafe release.
Oh.
Not on that pit stop, on the next one.
Oh, wait, hold on. Wasn't it also during that pit stop that tire changer had a problem with his air gun? His wheel gun? The
tire changer did leave the wheel gun kind of far out, away from him, as the new guy was coming in to bring the new tire. And the Red Bull behind him had pit. It wasn't Verstappen. It was Perez. And he ended up running over the wheel gun. Now, that in itself is not terrible, but I know that in other series, like in NASCAR and IMSA, that's like pit equipment in other pit stalls. I forget what the name of the penalty is, but usually it's a drive-through penalty. Apparently, in F1, it's not a penalty during the race. It's a financial penalty to the team afterward.
Oh.
Which I didn't know.
Me neither.
That's the first time I've heard of that. And I was very curious to see if the Ferrari was going to get penalized during the race, and then the announcers did say there will be a monetary penalty to Ferrari after.
Ferrari is rough. What happened to the other pit stop?
Which one? The other one was an unsafe release.
What happened?
I think that Ferrari just let, I think it was also, who was it?
Was it Sainz or Leclerc?
I think Sainz went out ahead of either a Williams or, I think it was Alonso.
Oh, an Alpine.
An Alpine, yeah. Not good.
Ferrari. Gee, sus.
I will say there was a weird situation where a car was stopped on the straightaway during this whole debacle, and the safety car brought all the cars down pit road as they did the pit stop and then unsafe released them. So pit road was a little more congested than normal, but it was blatantly obvious an unsafe release.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Kind of not good by Ferrari.
Very not good.
Yeah. I think that does mean that Verstappen is further in the lead because he took the win. Who came in second?
Second place was Mr. George Russell himself.
That's right.
Hey, yo.
He made his own tire call. And essentially Mercedes was like, okay, fine, we'll give you better tires. We know that's the better call. We didn't want you to pass Lewis because Lewis is going to be a big baby about it.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, he passed Lewis, and Lewis was a big baby about it,
Mm-hmm.
to be expected.
Mm-hmm.
So he got second. Good for him.
Yeah.
And then who was third?
So it was Verstappen, Russell, Leclerc, top three.
Okay.
Followed by then Lewis Hamilton, who does not get a podium, and his teammate, the second driver, is finishing ahead of the number one driver.
Not the first time this year.
Makes you wonder.
It does. It does.
So that'll segue us into the driver standings. Quick little update here. So the Formula One driver standings after the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort starts with Max Verstappen well in the lead. He is 109 points in front of second place. Verstappen has got 310 points. Second place is tied for Leclerc and Perez with 201 points. So Leclerc and Perez, so a Ferrari and a Red Bull, are tied for second place in the driver standings at 201 points. Then you have George Russell, not far behind in fourth place, technically, with 188 points. Then you have Carlos Sainz, the other Ferrari, with 175 points. That's number fifth place here. And then his Hamiltonness is looking very far out of any potential winning here this year. He is in sixth place with 158 points.
The last of the front.
Yes. He is almost half of what Verstappen is in points. Verstappen's 310. Hamilton is 158.
Wow.
Sheesh.
Big difference from last year.
Sheesh.
Big difference.
Yikes.
I will say that track was very cool. There's some crazy banking in it, and you'll see cars running like a high line like they would do in NASCAR, which is really weird to see for F1. But very cool.
Very much so, yes. So,
all right. That wraps up F1. Let's move over to some IndyCar.
Okay.
There was some IndyCar racing this past weekend.
Indy.
Yes. And they were over in Portland, which is kind of neat.
Oregon.
A track that I don't know a lot about, but it looks fun.
Yeah, you and I, we both talked about this. We're like, wow, Portland. We don't know anything about this track, but it looks really cool.
It does. Apparently, it's very synonymous for having crashes in turn one on the first lap. The announcers were going on about how no one crashed on the first lap. It's an absolute miracle. So that's kind of interesting.
Interesting.
It is a very tight corner with a very high speed coming into a tight corner.
Cool.
Looks like it has a bunch of flow. Overall, some good, clean racing. I will say there was one incident with Jimmy Johnson. Who was the driver that crashed him?
I don't know who did it.
Can't remember.
But Jimmy Johnson was a complete and total innocent bystander.
It was a weird one because they were going down the straightaway and the other driver kind of just turned into him.
Yeah, so Jimmy Johnson was staying nice and wide going down, I believe this is the front straightaway, into turn one, right? And the car behind him came out to pass him, so pulled to the inside of him. And then instead of just continuously passing him and holding line, the driver passing Jimmy Johnson decided to come back left to the outside and just kind of say, "You go to the wall right now, thank you, goodbye."
And he did.
So it just was, it looked so blatant and just kind of just bad race craftsmanship there.
Yeah, it was an odd incident. For
just bad racecraft, right?
For something like an IndyCar driver, it's not what you would expect.
No, because at that point, you're already committed to pass him. Keep passing him.
It's pretty well known. You just take down the inside.
Yeah.
But he tried to get back onto the racing line.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy was clearly there. Anyway, weird incident regardless. But do you have the results from that race?
As a matter of fact, I do.
Perfect.
So first place was taken by Mr. Scott McLaughlin, an Aussie, with Team Penske. Second place was another Team Penske with Will Power, another Aussie. Wow, this entire race, what are we, all Aussies for first place? Possibly, yes.
Really?
Scott McLaughlin, Will Power, followed by Scott Dixon.
Wow. Is that an all Aussie podium?
I believe so, yeah.
That's wild.
And then we have Pato O'Ward and Graham Rahal. And then Colton Herta, the whole, silly season debacle there, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so that's where everyone has finished there.
Okay. Good race. You should probably go watch it. I think that leads us to, that's the second to last race in the season for them.
Yep.
Okay.
And we'll get to the last race here in a minute.
Okay, cool. So there was another of note race that was going on over the weekend, and that happened to be the good old NASCAR at Darlington.
Yeah, brother.
I know you didn't watch this.
No, I did not.
I didn't watch a lot of it. I did watch the highlights. There was some good racing. This is the track Darlington where the high line is the fastest way around the track. The banking is more flat at the bottom and more banked up higher you go, which I like seeing that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's really cool. Instead of just having basically what Daytona is, which is just flat banking all the way across.
It's more like an exponential banking.
Mm-hmm. They increase the bank as you go up, which leads you to the Darlington Stripes, which is where you want to be as close to the wall as possible. But there was one particular incident that I want to talk about here. It involved your favorite driver, Kyle Busch. Under yellow, Kyle Busch's car started billowing the white smoke of death.
Yeah.
Which means some seal has gone somewhere and oil is getting in places it shouldn't be.
Uh-huh.
And that means it's time to retire the car.
Yeah, it's done. It's toast.
So he came on the radio and he said, "Oh, I'm blowing up. Problems. I'm bringing it in. We're retiring." But at that same moment, when the fans noticed that Kyle Busch was blowing up, everyone got on their feet and cheered and hooted and hollering, and they were loving that Kyle Busch was about to retire from
It was the funniest thing ever. I mean, as soon as that white smoke started coming out, the fans were on their feet. I mean, a standing ovation for the fact that Kyle Busch blowed up. I mean, wow. Can you be any more hated than that?
No. And
oh, my God.
The announcing team did say, "Oh, man, Kyle Busch is blowing up. He's one of those drivers. Either you love him or you hate him."
Oh, boy. Everyone at Darlington hated him.
I think a lot of NASCAR fans hate him.
Like, the entire stadium was on their feet cheering when he was dying there.
And that was leading me to believe. I was really thinking, is there any other series that you can think? IndyCar, IMSA, WEC, I don't know, anything where there's such a culture hatred toward a specific driver?
It's a good question. I can't think of any other driver in any other series that is that hated.
The only other one that I can think of is also in NASCAR, and it was Tony Stewart.
Oh, true.
But
yeah, a lot of people didn't like him.
No, a lot of people did not like him. And he's not a very nice dude. He said some mean things. But I can't think of any other series that has a particularly hated driver, at least well known, right?
Yeah, that's like everyone hates him.
Kyle Busch just has this thing about him.
Like, no one likes him.
No
one.
There are a few fans, but it's really hard to come by.
Yeah, it's like 1 out of 100 actually likes Kyle Busch.
Right. Oh, I'd say even less than that. It's weird. I've never seen a driver so hated before.
Yeah, that's a little
odd. So, do you have some results for the NASCAR race?
I do.
Who won?
So, the NASCAR race at Darlington. This is the Cookout Southern 500, I believe.
Yeah, that's a very NASCAR name for a race.
I believe that's what it was called. Yeah, the Cookout Southern 500. That one. The first place was taken by a driver named Eric Jones, who I've never heard of.
Wait, who?
Eric Jones.
Who's that?
It's not Mike Jones, the rapper.
Whoa. Okay.
Eric Jones with
Who's
a K.
Second then?
Denny Hamlin. I mean, we know who Denny Hamlin is. Yep. And then third was Tyler Reddick, which we've heard of him.
Yeah. Eric Jones.
But Eric Jones.
Huh. Good for him.
Well done, Eric Jones.
Okay.
Congrats to you.
Neat.
Hey, there's that. Well done,
Yeah.
Eric Jones.
And rip Kyle Busch.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, brother. Not so good for him.
Yeah.
So, shall we keep with the theme of NASCAR for a moment? Sure. Because there was a NASCAR driver that did some racing this weekend that was actually not in a NASCAR.
Who? What?
So, Mr. Jeff Gordon
had
a race in Porsche Carrera Cup. Can you think of a race car that is more un-NASCAR than Porsche Carrera Cup, other than F1?
Yeah, no.
That's very non-NASCAR.
No.
It's like very European perfection sort of thing.
Right.
That's not NASCAR at all. But Jeff Gordon raced the Porsche Carrera Cup at Porsche's Sports Car Together Festival in Indianapolis at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Indy. And there was some Porsche Carrera Cup races. Real quick, not going to spend too much time, but one of our previous guests, Grant Talkie, did race and also finished ahead of Jeff Gordon in both
Put that on the
race
resume.
1 and 2. Our guest, Grant, he actually did finish top 10 in race 2. He was 8th there. Race 1, he got kind of had to run away from some big lap 1 shenanigans. But that was just kind of cool to see.
Yeah, that's neat. I've heard that there's more to this story, though, and that this is a run up to the Garage 52. I think that's what it's called, the Le Mans car that they're trying to do, the Le Mans NASCAR. And there's rumors that they're trying to get the drivers groomed more for sports car racing because the NASCAR is going to be heavily modified and feel more like a sports car than it is a NASCAR.
Interesting.
Yes. So I would not be surprised if we saw a couple other historic NASCAR drivers kind of start to do this more often. I also don't know if this is going to be a one-off. I hope that he keeps driving it. I suspect he probably won't, and they'll probably just go straight into testing once they have this kind of monstrosity of a NASCAR ready.
Yeah. Although that'd be a cool soundtrack to hear at Le Mans.
Oh, it'll be amazing, and the fans will love it.
Oh, yeah.
Rumor has it there might be 2 coming.
Good, I hope so.
Yes.
Because it'd be boring to just see one. You want them to battle against each other.
You would like to see that. But there's also rumor that they're trying to start this to be more of the European outreach for a NASCAR type thing. There is a European version of NASCAR over there.
There is?
There is. Nobody.
There is?
Yep. I think
had
it's
no
called
idea.
Euro car or something. There's a thing. There's something over there that basically races NASCARs, and it's over in Europe. Very not well known, considering you don't know it.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's not very well known. But they're going to try to do more press toward that series when Le Mans happens, which makes sense. We'll see how it's taken.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Either way, cool. Jeff Gordon raced in a Porsche.
Mm-hmm.
I like
Very
that.
cool.
So, real quick, before we wrap up this episode, do want to quickly touch on the upcoming races that you can tune into this weekend. So, this weekend, we have the FIA WEC coming back in action. So, that is the World Endurance Championship. They are back at Fuji. So, that's coming up this weekend. As well as F1 again at Monza. We are getting closer to the end of season for pretty much all of the seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
So F1's at Monza this weekend. Then we have NASCAR at the Kansas Motor Speedway. Then we have a series that we actually don't talk a lot about, but it is DTM. So that's the German series.
Yes.
They're at Spa.
Ah, okay.
That'd be cool. Then Indy is wrapping up their entire series, or season, I should say, at Laguna Seca. The last race of the season for Indy is at Laguna Seca.
Okay. That'd be super cool. Mm-hmm. By the way, if you want to go watch the FIA WEC, it's totally on the website. I also added this past week the 24 Le Mans on there, as well as the 6 hours of Monza.
What is the website again?
weareauto.io. It'll be in the description as well.
Yes, make sure you check it out because it is awesome, but I digress. So, you got anything else for episode 114?
I do not.
All right, so then thanks so much for watching and listening. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a thumbs up, mash that subscribe button, and let us know in the comments here. Which race are you more excited to watch this weekend? Are you excited for WEC, F1, Indy, or DTM, right? Even NASCAR. Let us know. Now, if you're listening on audio only, please do leave us a 5-star rating and review on your platform of choice. You know, your Googles and Apples and Spotifys and all that good stuff. And while you're out there, go ahead and follow us on social. Would be so grateful. Facebook is We Are Auto. Instagram is WeAreAuto_. YouTube is We Are Auto. And our website is weareauto.io. So thanks again. Catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.